Good evening. Welcome to Forge for Mine. Before we start with a video proper, myself and Rob want to offer our condolences, sympathies from us here at Forge for Mine, and you guys that follow, like, and subscribe us. Offer our condolences to the royal family for obviously the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II yesterday afternoon. Yeah, there really isn't much else I can say on that apart from, Rob, can we swap sides now, please?
If you insist.
There we go. That's better.
If you insist.
Yeah, thank you.
No. So I think you said it very, very eloquently and in the correct tone, I believe. And I normally start. People that come and visit us often know how I normally start my intros. I'm not actually going to do the first bit. I'm not gonna do the first little bit that I usually do. I don't personally feel it's appropriate. However, I will ask, and I have put it in the pinned comment section. I believe it is something that, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II was someone that, whether you're a monarchist or not, she fundamentally was someone that tried to do good, I believe, in her life. And I think we should still try and live up to this particular charitable cause. So if any of you guys are in a position to help the Iron Supporting Food Bank charity, I would encourage you to do so. It is in the pinned section on the live comments. So you can just click on that. It will take you. There was someone that mentioned the other day about it. They clicked it and it didn't work. I've tried it. It does work. So I don't know. It was something going on their end. I don't know. But please, there's some people that are in some really desperate straits in this particular cost of living crisis. And at this time of national mourning, let's try and do a little bit of good for our fellow members of the community that maybe are not in such a good position as the rest of us. And we will thank you very much indeed for your assistance in this matter. I'm probably not going to put, and I hope you guys in the live chat don't think wrong of me, I'm probably not going to bother so much with the putting up the live comments as we go. To be honest, we want to get this done in a what we feel is an appropriate tone, get it done and go. Pretty much that's how it's going to be today. So today, Duke, we are here to discuss the UEFA Europa Conference League, Group B, Matchday 1 of 6, where we took on Fcsb and Romanian team obviously coming in. And as I said on the match preview, I did sort of think it was a bit difficult for us to try and gauge how good a team they were. And I have to be honest, from where I was sat, and you were sat a couple of rows in front of me to my right yesterday, I thought in the first half, I've got to be honest, I thought they looked a pretty tidy outfit, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, if I can, before we get into the crux of it all, I just want to say, I felt, I honestly thought the atmosphere. So was walking across the bridge past the Aquatic Centre, where I didn't find John. I was quite disappointed, but I am understanding that it absolutely pissed down with rain at one point yesterday, and I get that John wasn't going to be there. But I was walking across the bridge, and obviously, you notice people taking their phones out of their pockets, Rob, like en masse. Now, for those of you in the chat, there's 11 of you, Rob, you as well. When you watch, especially films based in America, America saving the world, you know if something's going on, if it's like a government kind of, you're in a government room and someone's phone goes off there because it's an important text from like an emergency kind of system, and then that person's phone, and then that person, and then that one, and all of a sudden you've got beep, 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 and everyone's getting their phones out to read the emergency address system.
Yeah.
That's how it felt to me when I was walking across the bridge. My phone went off. I got a text message from my sister in our family group chat, obviously saying that Queen Elizabeth II had passed away. And you could see that everyone else was getting the same text message from families and everything else, notifications. And I honestly thought that we were going to have a very kind of downbeat atmosphere. I honestly thought it was going to take its toll on the fans, if for want of a better word. Wasn't sure at that point if the game was still going to go ahead, because this is about 6:15. I think I met you on the boats, didn't I? About 6:30, 6:45.
Yeah, I think it was announced at 6:30 from memory.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so I met you about 7:15 on the boats, and we left at about 6:30 and walked round. So I honestly thought that was going to play a big part in the fans' kind of what's the word? Like involvement in the game. We know that West Ham fans are some of the best, especially nights under the lights. And you know, we come off the boats. We left you guys and Logan, bless him. You know, every time the Queen's picture flashed up on the big wraparound at the front of the stadium, he's like, "Oh look, it's the Queen." Oh, it's so sad and stuff like that. And then obviously, you know, the club changed the post to what you basically put up at the start, the black background, just the white. And I must admit, I felt really proud. I felt really proud as just to see that. And then we got into the stadium and we were aware of the minute's silence.
Yeah.
And I'm
it was a very surreal atmosphere, I thought, didn't you?
I'll tell you what was surreal before they gathered around the centre circle, Rob. That out of body experiences. You know, people say, "Oh, it's like an out of body." It did. It felt like I was looking at the stadium from above, and it just felt really weird. And then the players gathered around the centre circle, and the referee stood there, and I'm kind of waiting for the minute's silence to start because I didn't hear the whistle, and I'm like, And then I heard it. It came around the stadium to us in 203 like a rumble, and it was the national anthem.
Yes.
And I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it, Rob. Right, I got quite emotional afterwards. Grace to tell you, got quite emotional afterwards because it was bellowed. It wasn't sang. It wasn't sang. And also, just on that note, fair play to the club, and especially to Russ off of the network. They didn't play any songs. Did you notice?
Bubbles didn't get played. Nothing.
Nothing. We did that. We did that. But it was bellowed, Rob. It was that national anthem was bellowed louder than I've heard Bubbles sang in that stadium. Okay, I likened that national anthem last night to when Paul Young at Euro 96 stood there and was like, as you know, 80,000 England fans at Wembley Stadium sung that song. There weren't even a third of that last night. I was probably about a third of that last night, and we made just as much noise. And the fact that as a club we made it onto certain news outlets because we didn't do the silent, but we sang that shit. We bellowed that. That was a proud moment for me. And I just want to say, and I know Andy, I believe Andy was there as well, Walshy, last night. I was so proud of it, of every West Ham fan in that stadium, just to hear that. Like I say, the rumble came round the stadium, and it met me at, you know, happy and you know, that bit.
Yeah.
And then we carried it on, and you know, everyone cheered. The referee blew the whistle, and then we erupted. And then the game started, and as you say there, It was weird, Rob, because they didn't look good, right? They looked awful. They liked
Do you
to
think
throw.
it was the occasion that got to them?
For us, yes, I really do believe, especially our English players.
Yes.
Okay, I'd also like to just. He wasn't involved. I don't even think he was in the matchday squad. But I just want to do a massive shout out to Thomas Souček. I know he's not going to see this. I know he's not. But he put a tweet out yesterday saying, RIP the Queen. Now, for me, that meant so much because essentially he doesn't know Rob a great deal of what essentially she would mean to the British public. That, you know, in no way, shape, or form, as Budgie's mentioned, I'm not a royalist, Rob. I'm not. You know, but she was someone's mother, someone's grandmother, someone's great grandmother, and that's all that matters right now. You know. So of course, for me, the likes of, you know, Downs and Rice. Even certain players that have been in this country long enough, Lanzini, you know, they're going to know what that means and what she meant to the British people. Soufal would know because obviously him and Souček, you can't tell me they've not been to Buckingham Palace and all that shit. You know they have because they immerse themselves. So to see that from Big Tom yesterday, again, made me really proud of our club. But going back to the game, there was a lot of throwing themselves on the floor from their players. Okay, and then when we approach the second half, I will talk about Mr. Campagno up front, and the Star Wars character at the centre back. Jesus Christ, I did not believe how big he was, Rob. Their number 5 was like 8 foot. He was huge.
He was a big lad. He was a big lad.
And I'd also like to say that Kera dealt with Campagno really well.
He had a good game.
I not quite man of the match, but he was close.
Can I just take a couple of steps back, if I may, Duke?
Please.
Well, obviously, I tell you what. Let me just wind back. When that 11 was the confirmed lineup, and more to the point, the shape in which it was. Well, it says there it was a 4-3-3, so we have to take that at face value, whether you think it was or wasn't. But what was your thoughts when you saw what David Moyes was going with?
Oh, mate, I was buzzing. I won't lie. You knew he was taking it seriously. I don't think it was that formation, but I actually think it was a 4-2-1-3. I think the two boys up top next to Scamacca were where they were for the most part. I do believe Lanzini was in a hole in behind Scamacca and just in front of the other two playing more. Downs was very central alongside Rice. Now, when that was announced, you and I were at the boats when we saw it, because obviously the news breaking like it did, it overtook everything. You know, I think the club put out a tweet saying, you know, condolences to the family, and didn't tell us who was playing. You know, even I went on and went, oh, okay, yeah, I know, I get that, but I need to know who's playing, please. Can you let us know?
I just suppose at that point there was talk
it didn't
that
matter.
The game might have even been cancelled.
It didn't matter at that point. I did want to know, don't get me wrong, but it didn't matter. Also, props to how many teams in the Premier League?
They're 20.
Props to 19 clubs for posting before 8 o'clock. You know, condolences and everything else. Props to 19 clubs. I'm going to leave that there. There was one that didn't, and it pissed me off. They did
I wasn't aware of this.
They did it 1 minute past 8. 1 minute past 8. If anyone else wants to jump in the chat and put that out there, but it came up at 1 minute past 8, and it really pissed me off. Along with certain
8
videos.
this morning?
No, 8 last night. An hour and a half or 2 hours after she passed. Was every club, literally, I shit you not, Rob, every club put up a tweet within about 10 minutes Premier League club of the Queen passing.
Right.
Within 10 minutes, I do believe every Premier League club put up a post offering their condolences and saying RIP. There was one club, a red club, that didn't. And it really got my goat, regardless of affiliations of fans, of anything else. I feel that should have been necessary. That's my opinion. Others might feel differently. I've seen certain videos across social media of certain bars and clubs and places in a certain part of the country that were doing things that I didn't agree with. But forget that. That lineup there for me showed that he was taking it seriously.
Yeah.
That being said, when the game kicked off, they were dropping 10 men behind the ball. You know, the only person that really wasn't behind the ball for them was their big Italian lump, as I was calling him last night, which was Campagno. He kind of stayed on the halfway line. He did go down far too easily for a guy that's about 6'6". He actually went down like he was being beaten up by the Undertaker at one point, which I was very disappointed about. I think we struggled, Rob, first half to find that clear ball. Do you know what I mean by a clear ball? That one significant pass. I know that Scamacca, he had a couple of opportunities. He had a header. He had the shot that I think went about
closer to the penalty flag, the corner flag, I think, wasn't it, than the goal?
I actually think it was found rolling across the bridge towards the aquatic centre. That's how far wide it was. He dragged it. I think he was too confident. Do you know what I mean? I think he was a bit cocky, arrogance, like, this is mine. I've got my third goal in this competition. Shit.
Don't know how much of the sort of like he might have been feeling the effects though of this issue that's kept him out for the last couple of games. Don't know.
Virus, this eating a dodgy curry and having the shits, whatever the case may be. I don't know. But
I heard it was something to do with his gums.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard.
Wow.
Okay. I don't know whether it was true or whether it was just a whisper, but
I don't know. I did say to my two children just before we went 1-0 down, actually, and we'll talk about the goal in a second. I did say to both of my children, this needs crisps.
Yes, you did.
And my son went, what? What do you mean? And my daughter was like, what are you on about, crisps? I went, it needs crisps. We need crisps to come off the bench. And my daughter went, what are you on about? I went, Paqueta. You know, Paqueta crisps. And my son pissed himself laughing. He thought it was the best joke he's ever heard. So I'll give props to Logan for laughing at my really bad dad joke. But it was clear to me that we needed Paqueta on the pitch. That what Lanzini used to be, Rob. And I know that sounds really harsh on Lanzini right now, but
no, I would say it's entirely a fair observation to make. Finding
that pass, you know, that South American flair that, you know, before he really injured his knee, that kind of moment in time. And then we went 1-0 down, and the problem was, for me, going 1-0 down was the writing was on the wall. We'd had that one about 5 minutes beforehand where Emerson, Ogbonna and Areola kind of both just stood there and went, oh, it's a football. What do we do with it? I'm looking at a ball. What am I meant to do? And none of them wanted to do nothing with it. You know, it was at that point that Areola could have just walked over and gone, thanks very much, I'll pick it up. He could have walked over to it and picked it up. It was it felt like an age. It was probably only about 4 seconds, but it felt like an age. What I will say is I felt like they played like a team possessed in the first half. Bucharest, I mean.
Yeah.
FCSB. They played like a a team possessed. They played like a team, in honesty, compared to the second half, probably about 15 to 20 times above their own level. Do you know what I mean? I think they blew themselves out in the first half, came out in the second half and looked a bit different. Kind of a damp squib in the second half.
It's difficult to know whether
what
they blew themselves out or whether it was the tactical substitutions that David Moyes at half time made, triple substitution with, Paqueta, Antonio and Bowen all playing a key role in that second half performance, which we obviously turned around a 1-0 deficit and obviously got all 3 points by virtue of a 3-1 win. But
I came up to you at half time, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay. You were there with Rob. No, with George and you're Rob. With George and Libby.
Yep.
And I don't want to kick him while he's down. Okay. I did plenty of that over the last 18 months of doing this channel. I was begging for Ben Rama to be taken off at half time. He wasn't the only poor player on the pitch. I'm not saying that he was. But I felt that he was responsible for slowing down so much of our attack yesterday when we were on the counter. It annoyed me. It frustrated me. It irritated me. Scamacca frustrated me more than anyone has probably frustrated me in this West Ham side in a long time. Obviously, Bowen came on for Benny. Antonio came on for Scamacca. What was the other halftime sub? Was that it was just the two?
No, Bowen came on
Benny
for Benny. Yeah, Paqueta came on for
Lanzini,
and Antonio came on for Scamacca.
I don't think Lanzini looked that bad in the first half compared to what was around him. Yeah, Kent's right. He says there in the chat, I know you're not bringing it up, but he says there was too much straight line running from Benny last night, and it's right. But the second half, as I said to you, Rob, when we first came on, the centre-back, Jawa, Star Wars fella, he had something else to do because Antonio was dragging him in every which way that he could.
Terrorised him.
And, I mean, he could have been sent off at one point, Dawa, because he got booked for taking Antonio down on the left-hand side, which was nearest to us, and we could quite easily see it, Rob, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And then about 8 minutes later, he did exactly the same thing. He absolutely fucking lumped him.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, hang on a minute. You booked him, not what's going on?
Yeah.
Listen, it was consummate. You know, the ball, I think it was Paqueta, Crisps, for the penalty, wasn't it? He put the ball into the box when Cornet was just... Basically, I think the keeper came out and just slapped him up the back of the head and floored him.
Yeah.
But he obviously, he won the header because I jumped up, I was screaming for a penalty. He did win the ball first. Yeah. You know, you could see the players saying that the goalkeeper had his hands on the ball. You know what? A millisecond or two longer before Cornet gets his head on the ball. Yes, the keeper does have the ball in his hands. He's there. He's there. The ball, he doesn't have it in his grasp, but he's got it in his hands like this. He's not touching the ball, and Cornet knocks it out of his hands. Yeah. Ken's made me chuckle. Centre back looked like Prime Zuma in the first half and Roger Johnson in the second half. Antonio pulled him every which way but loose. He really did. It was you know, Scamacca stayed too central. Antonio comes on and their defenders didn't know what to do with him. But the penalty, well won.
Good penalty from Bowen.
Oh, mate, wasn't it just? Pick that. I'll tell you what.
And he had a long time to wait, didn't he? You know, between the penalty being awarded and him actually striking the ball. I mean...
do you think that penalty gets given if there's VAR, Rob? I've watched the highlights. I've watched it back. Do you still think it gets given? I think it's 50-50. I think
Well-
there could be claims to be made that the keeper is there, because my head being the ball, he's kind of here. Look,
Well,
you see what I mean? He hasn't got his hands on it, and he's not in
Yeah.
control of the ball. But I've seen I've seen arguments made that defender headers the ball out of his hands. Do you know what I mean? I've seen VAR to be shit for a long time now.
Well, yeah. The thing is, I mean, he's made contact with Cornet's head, hasn't he? Fundamentally, now I would make the case that if he's making contact with the player's head, he's endangering his safety, right?
Well, that's why he was taken off, wasn't it?
Therefore, it's a penalty.
Therefore, then Skamaka should have been sent off for endangering his own player in the first half.
Yeah, possibly. You could
When he
use that.
I do believe he took a tip out of Craig Dawson's book when we played Southampton last year.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a penalty, and if we're gonna just go back a couple of steps, if we're gonna say that Bowen was a foul on Mendy the other day, then that's bordering on assault yesterday. If one, it is. Yeah. You know, if that's your yardstick, if the Mendy challenge, whatever you want to call it, or the Bowen challenge on Mendy caused the goal to be chalked off the other day, if that is what we're saying now is your baseline for a foul, that's a foul. And
I mean, Kent. Actually, I'm gonna reference the two last comments that have come in. So Trini Hammer, welcome back. I haven't seen you for a while. Trini Hammer, it's good to see you. He says there that Cornet got his head to the ball first. The keeper came through the back of him, so he agrees it's a penalty. Then you got Kent saying, "I don't." So Kent's kind of in that agreement of not being given the penalty because he says it's a close one. But with VAR, is they slow it down and then they tend to favour the goalkeeper. So as I say, if you look, I'm not touching my head, but I'm very close. That's how close the goalkeeper was to putting his hands on the ball. They could tend to say that he's headed it out of his hands. You know what I mean? So, and listen, on VAR, we know when they slow it down to, the speed of me getting out of bed in the morning, which is very slow.
I just think now with the current sort of like tone of football where there's a lot of focus on head contact, that I think that I just think that that's a foul. I think he's, like I say, I just think he's endangered the safety of the player. I think there's I'll go a step further. I think there was actually a case for a red card.
I mean, I won't.
I'm not saying he should have been sent off. I'm saying there's a case.
No, there's a case.
I won't.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to disagree. I don't necessarily do agree, but I won't definitely agree with you on that one. And that's cool. What we do on this channel. We have opinions.
Yes.
What do you make of before we went 2-1 up? And
the Emerson goal, a
very scrappy goal in my opinion.
Did it go through the keeper's legs? Didn't it?
It did, yeah. And I called for offside.
What, on Antonio?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I got to be honest. I thought it was when it happened in real time.
I called offside against Antonio. I celebrated. I was like, and then I went, I think it might be. Hang on.
VAR, did they? So,
but no. But then when you slow it down and you watch again, I watched the highlights after we got back last night, and I won't lie, I feel guilty for getting a bit exuberant right now. I feel guilty for laughing a little bit, and I know we want to try and do this in a tone, but it's just how my mind goes when I remember last night. I watched the highlights this morning and again last night and again this morning, and you actually see that the ball played through. Who's at the door? What? No, leave it out there a minute. When the ball's actually played through to Antonio by their defender. It's not played by. It's not kicked by a West Ham fan. He actually nudges it back with his toe.
Yeah.
But it was very. Their goalkeeper was possessed before that goal. Rob
played really well, I thought.
Second half, I actually found myself
that
thinking.
Double save, especially.
Oh, before what? The 4-0s offside. It was 4-0s, and it was
4-0
Antonio, wasn't
Antonio,
it?
wasn't it? Yeah.
And then on the Antonio one, 4-0s was called offside.
Yeah.
They were two magnificent saves. There was a couple before that as well, where he got down, I think it was to his left. Really big, strong paws. Like he had like bare hands. Did you see? Like they were huge.
Yeah.
Great couple of saves. To the point that I was actually looking up on Transfermarkt just how much he costs, because actually he doesn't look. I can't remember how old he was, Rob. But I don't think he's of an age. Do you know what I mean? Like I think he's 25. I think I remember.
Yeah.
But really good, solid goalkeeper. You know, with a bit of extra coaching on position from certain like corners and stuff. I think he'd make a really, really good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But no, the second goal, I mean, it's just one of them, wasn't it?
What did you think of Emerson's performance up to that point?
I'm not going to use the words that I used last night to Grayson Logan.
No.
I'm going to change one of them. Dog poo.
Yeah, I didn't think he looked all that good in the first half. I've got to be honest.
I'm at a point where I'm asking Cresswell to come back, and that scares me.
Would you ask Masuaku back? Is it that bad?
Give me another couple of games, I'll let you know.
Okay.
But yeah, listen, it was a scrappy goal, and it was a scrappy goal. Even Antonio's third, mate, weren't great, was it? The finish.
I thought he took it well. He turned it, he rolled the defender. He's accelerated into the penalty box.
Let's talk
Left
about
foot
the shot.
drive.
Let's talk about the shot.
Or should we talk about the goalkeeping more at the point?
That's what I'm getting at. He gets a hand to it. I heard people around me say last night, if we played a decent team, the score's different. But then if we played a better team, we up our game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe Moyes puts out a stronger team.
You look at the Lyon game last year, away from home. We took our performance levels from here in most other games kind of enough to here. And so people. I heard it around me. If we play a better team, we get punished. We do get punished. But then on the flip side to it, you know what? It don't matter. We got the result. It could have been more, to be fair. The goalkeeper, like we've said already, made some cracking saves. What was your highlight of the night, Rob, for you? I know it was a difficult night, and I was talking to the kids on the way home.
Are we talking in terms of playing, or are we in terms of
just your highlight of the night? Just your highlight of the night.
Singing the national anthem. That would be the highlight.
Yeah, I said to Grace I was going to ask you the question for the games that we go to from now on, that we're both there. I said to her on the way home last night. I had two. I had two highlights of the night. One was.
I could mention another one if you want.
Go on. What was your other one?
If you're asking me just for one,
no, go on.
It would be the singing national anthem. The other highlight I've got to say is the performance of Flynn Downs.
Mate, how special was he?
I thought he was brilliant. Really,
I've heard other channels. Actually, I'm gonna mention their names. Gonzo over at Hammers Chat has said this before about players. What's Downs got to do to be in? Ken, sorry, if you could just put in the chat, when is the Everton game? Is it next weekend? I might have an answer to that. Let me know. I know tomorrow's Sunday's is cancelled. If Everton is next weekend, I'll take it. Next Thursday's away, so yes, I think next Thursday is on because it's away at Silkeborg in Denmark. Yeah. So I think that still will go ahead. I think Everton is the Sunday, isn't it, Rob, afterwards?
I believe so, yes.
Then that's the day before the
The proposed. Well, I mean, it
the
hasn't been
proposed day for the funeral.
but
So
everybody seems to think it
I
will be
have a
Monday, the
feeling
19th.
next weekend's sporting calendar may well be cancelled as well.
Mhm.
We're as obviously doing what I do for a living in the pub. We're being told to prepare that might be the case, that we have no sporting events next weekend as well. So just that's where I'm at. Flynn Downs, Rob, Gonzo and Gio over at Hammers Chat have said that, he obviously doesn't do enough to impress Moyes in training. This is not in games. And we can only speculate that he doesn't do enough. What's he got to do to impress Moyes? I'll tell you now, for me, if Flynn Downs isn't in Moyes' thoughts for when the Premier League reconvenes, or even next week on Thursday away at Silkeborg, if Flynn Downs isn't the second name on the team sheet after Declan Rice, if Declan Rice plays,
Yep,
and not the first name on the team sheet if if Rice doesn't play, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
The amount of people around me last night, Rob, and obviously I'm only 12 to 20 rows in front of you last night. I don't know whether you heard it because you were too busy having an argument with a steward.
No. It was not an argument. It wasn't an argument. It was a robust exchange of views. I didn't have a problem with the steward. He's under orders. I didn't have a problem with him. My issue is with his orders.
Yes, agreed.
But we won't go into that too much. That's for another time.
We're working on that.
Yeah, we'll park that.
Flynn Downs reminded me and many others around me of Mark Noble and Scott Parker last night.
Yeah,
I'd kind of an amalgamation of the two. It was professional. He did more. I think he did more Noble 360s and Parker 180s than Parker and Noble ever did in the game. I think he did more of those. Do you know what I mean by 180?
Yeah.
And a Parker 180 and a Noble 360. He did more of those that those two did in the game than that he did last night on his own. It was amazing.
Although,
oh, listen, I'm not knocking it. I love a Noble 360. I love a Parker 180. I love it. So to see Downs doing that, you could see, and whether or not this is true, I felt you could see that he'd watched those players in the past and seen that a Parker 180 works, a Noble 360 works, and he used that in his game last night. I thought he was outstanding. He's my man of the match, Rob. I'll do that now.
Agree.
He's my man of the match with.
Well, look at those stats.
I'll give him a 9. I'll give him a 9 because he didn't get 100% pass accuracy.
Yeah, I mean, 91.7%.
Oh, you take that all day long, didn't you?
69 total touches, 5 out of 7 ground duels won, 3 key passes, 3 tackles, 1 interception, and he was dribbled past not one single time. For me, I thought he acquitted himself magnificently, and if that performance isn't enough to make David Moyes, if not put him in the starting 11 next time, at least when the time comes that he brings substitutes on, that he's not the first guy out of the traps. For me, I think that Flynn Downs could consider himself very, very harshly treated, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. I thought he was outstanding last night. Absolutely brilliant. And I won't say necessarily a surprise, because I've thought he had it in him, but a surprise. Do you know what I mean? Give me 2 seconds. I've got to give me you just if you can.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that Flynn Downs, like I say, he kept the ball, he kept possession ticking over. He was moving the ball around. And I completely agree with what Duke's saying. I can definitely see that there's some similarities there between him and Mark Noble. I mean, listen, Mark Noble did it for many, many, many years. This is one game, so I'm not for one moment going to say that he's the next Mark Noble. But I think that I can see that stylistically he is someone that you could compare to Mark Noble, and he didn't do a bad job for us for many, many years. But like I say, I thought he came in and did really well, and I got to give him credit, because let's also consider this. And I know you could turn around and say he's a West Ham fan, and he must have been, you know, when we came in for him, I believe that Crystal Palace were also in for him, and as soon as he heard West Ham were in for him, it was basically, give me the pen, I'll sign the deal. And obviously he comes in, and the first however many games he's not involved, or gets limited minutes. And then there was that comment that I think David Moyes made about him, basically where David Moyes, in a roundabout way, said he wasn't producing enough in training for him to be considered a viable midfield option. And so I suspect that Flynn Downs has clearly rolled his sleeves up in training and got to the level where David Moyes needed him to be. Now, like I say, if he is not on the team sheet, if he's not in the starting 11, and I will say that it has to be noted that in the last game that we played, Thomas Souček and Declan Rice both played well as a partnership. I know a lot of people say that Thomas Souček has been not the Thomas Souček of 2 seasons ago, and that's completely fine. But I thought that in the last game out, Souček and Rice as a partnership against Chelsea functioned quite well. So it would be harsh on Souček to drop him after that. But then again, he's come in and done the job that was asked of him, Flynn Downs. So it would also be harsh. Is David Moyes possibly going to go? I mean, he adopted a 4-3-3 yesterday. Is it going to be that? Is 4-3-3 going to be the formation that we're going to play going forwards, or a hybrid of it? You know, Duke said that he thought it was more a 4-2-1-3, which I suspect it possibly may have been, because obviously you've got players like Lanzini, players like Paqueta, who are essentially number 10s. So probably that may well be the formation that David Moyes is going to try and adopt. But it's interesting. As I say, his performance yesterday has given David Moyes a nice problem to have as a manager. These are the problems you don't want to have as a Premier League manager: of injuries, suspensions, fixture congestion, an unhappy camp, blah blah blah. The problems you want players to be coming off of the bench or coming in games that maybe are sort of like seen as lesser in terms of their prestige than maybe a Premier League game would be. So Conference League, League Cup, things like that. And a player comes in who you're maybe not expecting, comes in and actually does a stellar performance, which makes the manager have to go, oh, hello. I didn't think he had that in him, but you know what? He's really impressed me there. Now I've got a selection problem. But they're the problems you want as a Premier League manager. Just going to have a little look at the comments section just to see. As I say, guys, I do apologize. I've just made the decision. I'm not going to get any of your comments up. I am reading them. But if he's got a runner, just Kent saying there, if he's got a runner, Flynn hits the runner with the top class ball for Scamacca chance. Yeah, I mean, Scamacca he was disappointing, but I'm not going to sort of kick him too much, because I'm mindful of the fact that I don't know how much this infection or whatever it was has taken out of him. I really don't know. I thought he looked poor yesterday, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's hard, because that shot, that shot he dragged wide by about 18,000 feet. I had some guy behind me scream at the top of his lungs, "How much were you?"
You had someone sitting next to you that spoke English. Oh, that's nice.
Stop it! They were everywhere. Email. Anyway, my other highlight was just how much my son enjoyed the game last night.
That was great.
It was...
Well, because you said yourself to me on a few occasions, he's not really into football. I think he was last night.
You know what? He's not. Okay. He listen. He's a computer kid. He's of that generation, isn't he? His mates all play computer games. He's got his Nintendo Switch. That's his thing. So when we told him that we got tickets to go to last night's game, it was like, oh. And then Joe turned around and went to him, we can stay at Nanny's if you want. No, I'll go football. Sorry, Mum. So he was a little bit excited when he came home from school. You know, that the whole build-up, like we're going. And then we left and we're on the train and he's getting a bit more excited. And then we started seeing a few more West Ham shirts at Canary Wharf, Rob on the DLR, and got off at Stratford and you see a few more, and he's like, "Look, Dad, West Ham fan." I was like, "Yeah, mate, we're the stadium's over there. You're going to see a hell of a lot more now, boy. Get ready for it." Took him for dinner in McDonald's in Stratford, and he was surrounded and he loved it. Like, he had this excitement I've not seen on his face when I've taken him to football. And you saw how bored he got, Rob, at the boats, didn't he? He was very like, "Can we go now? Can we go now?
Yeah, a little bit fidgety.
And then
he's got a load of old men around him chatting.
Yeah, chatting that don't interest him. And we took him up to the stadium, and as we're walking around, you know, he's Irons is rattling around. That's his current favourite now.
Yeah.
Right? So Irons is rattling around. So we see one of the the supporters assistant, the women, they give out the cards, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, last night's one was Ludek Miklosko, so the kids got one each.
He comes from near Moscow, doesn't he?
He does. But Grace put the wet umbrella, Roberts, in with my programme and the cards. She nearly got a beating when we got home last night, and I realised the cards were a bit floppy. But when we come out of the stadium...
It's not the only thing you've had in your hands that's a bit floppy.
Stop it. It's only when I'm looking at you on camera. We come out of the stadium and so we came out and we walked to... I got stopped walking across the bridge, Rob. So the kids wanted a bottle of Coke each. So we stopped at the bar right next to the bridge. Got a couple of Cokes. I got myself a pint of cider in a plastic. And went across the bridge, Rob.
Okay. And
I got stopped because I'm not allowed to carry my pint across the bridge.
Sorry?
The plastic pint, I can't carry it out across the bridge as we're leaving. I was stopped by stewards going from the stadium, that bridge where they do the checks, they wand you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to cross that bridge with my plastic pint in my hand.
This was coming out of the ground?
Out of the stadium after the game, yeah. So I proceeded to ask the gentleman, who was quite polite, don't get me wrong, he's only doing his job. You're telling me I can't walk across the bridge with my pint, but I can be surrounded by Bucharest fans in the home end of the stadium? I can't walk with, heaven forbid, I walk across the bridge with my beer, but I can be surrounded by away fans in the home parts of the ground. And he went, "Mate, you're not the first one to tell me this, but I'm sorry." I said, "Listen, I'm not blaming you, and I'm going to stand here and I'm going to drink my pint. That's fine. I get it. It's not on you." I said, that's fine. And I stood there and drank my beer. And the last thing he said to me as I walked away? "Thank you for not making a meal of that." I said, "I can imagine you're going to have a lot more of that after I've left. It's not a problem, my man. It is what it is."
I think probably because you work in the industry you work in, you've probably got a little bit
more
handle on where they're coming from. Yeah.
It's not his fault. He's only being told his job. It's the same as the stewards that said to you last night, "We can't do much. We've got our orders." It's funny, though, how if I was to grab one that was sat 3 rows in front of me and throw him off the upper tier onto the tier below...
We don't condone that, by the way.
No. But if I did, that's on me. He should never have been there in the first place, but that's on me. You see what I mean? And then they're wondering why, if we decide to have a fight with the 500.
Well, apparently that's not going to happen, Duke.
Well, you want to know something? I've seen a lot on social media today, Rob, that it's no different than what we do when we go away from home, and when we go to places like Tottenham, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and we try to buy tickets in the home end. I've read.
You mean like when I went to Lyon and my ticket got scrubbed?
Yeah. Or, listen, we're not talking about it. We're going to be.
No, we're not.
Because otherwise we're both going to get irate. And oh, Andy, is that true?
Yeah. Andy was in corporate.
Oh,
Yeah. He was prawn sandwich, padded seats.
I don't like him anymore.
All that. Have you ever done corporate? Of course, yes, you have, haven't you?
I did Forged. I did the Forged bar.
Yes, you did. I haven't done it at London Stadium.
I met Stag on that evening.
Yes, you did.
Great night. That was Genk. That was the Genk game.
I did corporate at Upton Park. It was the season that Avram Grant was the manager, if I remember rightly. We played.
Oh, not a very good one then.
No, but we played Forest in the FA Cup, and did we win 3-2? I've got a vague recollection that we beat Forest 3-2, and it was on a Sunday, and I don't remember getting home. Don't remember the journey home at all. I overindulged. I can't lie.
I'm not knocking you for that. We've all been there. We've all done it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Very, very nice. It wouldn't be something. I mean, number one, I couldn't afford to do it every week.
Well, you could. It just depends on where. Because if anyone, listen, it's really sad. I follow a page on TikTok called The Padded Seat. I don't know whether anyone. It's on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok, and they record videos of them doing.
Oh, is this where they go to the corporate? Different clubs. I think yes,
the padded seat.
Padded seat. Yeah, I saw one they did at Newport County.
I saw the one they did at Crawley, Fulham when they go along the Thames, don't they? They have
there was one at the Emirates as well.
Yeah. They're actually quite fun to watch because you see the levels as you go. So like Crawley Town, Fulham made me laugh. You have to because Fulham don't have like a section in the stand for you to go and have your like your food. Like if you go to the Emirates, they say when you go to the Emirates, you go up, you this entire like lounge area where you can get your food and your drink and everything else, and you go down and you can see where the players warm up and you can take pictures at pitch side, and then you go down a bit further and you can, a bit like Tottenham have, the bar, they have that glass window where the players line up before they come out. Well, you can do that at City. Well, Fulham don't have that big lounge in that stand because obviously it's right on the Thames, isn't it? So they have a
pub, didn't they? Or
they have a separate pub down the road.
Yeah,
down the road, and I was just giggling. at the fact that for a Fulham corporate ticket, you have to fuck off to a pub down the road, get your grub and your food, watch the 12:30 kickoff on Sky on a big screen, then take a 20-minute walk down the Thames path to get into the ground.
I'd imagine on a sort of like
on a nice summer's day,
May or something, it'd be quite nice, that little walk. Imagine doing that in December or January.
It was bits like that. I mean, it just made me chuckle. But if anyone, you saying about doing corporate and not being able to afford it every week, I think the average price of a corporate ticket for City is like 1,500 quid. Whereas an average price of a corporate ticket at, let's say, Crawley, if you want to sponsor the match ball, I think it's £150 for sponsorship and a corporate padded seat, and you can get all that. So I'm looking at it going, you know what, football's football. Do you know what I mean? Like I enjoy a game of football. I could go down the local park. I could go up to Charlton Park at the weekends, and watch a game of football and enjoy it. I don't have to.
I might come and join you.
I don't need all that fandangled the corporate stuff. I don't need that to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of a grassroots fan as well. I love a bit of, going to the local park. In fact, Rob, you came to watch me play grassroots at one point, didn't you?
Did.
For the Vets, and I performed all right, I think.
You trap the ball further than you can kick it.
You know what? I've got a great second touch.
First one's bloody awful, so that ain't really saying much.
Shocking. Ask Joe. My first touch is terrible.
Say no more. Say no more. But back on track. So we obviously finished the game 3-1 winners.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
3 points in the bag. We got obviously the game as things stand, unless something happens. Silkeborg away, and again, we'll cover this on the preview. But it's going to be an awkward one to try and gauge. I'm
about 8 minutes of a video.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said on the preview for the Fcsb game that we've just had, it was really difficult to try and gauge how they were, and I think they were better than what we thought. Yes, maybe in the first half we didn't play well, but they did. I thought I've got to put my hands up. They play, and I will say, despite what we've alluded to as certain people getting in the home end that maybe shouldn't have been there, but that's a different argument. Let's concentrate on the people that were where they should have been as far as their support was concerned.
Oh, their support was fantastic.
They were fantastic. They were vociferous. They were energetic. They got behind their team. I thought that their fans were excellent.
Logan had a few choice words for them in the first half. He told them in no uncertain terms at one point to shut up. There was a couple of extra words in there. The was one of them. And it just had me laughing because they were very noisy, as you say. They were very loud. They were very in your face. Like, I have to say at points, they were us away from home. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
They were us. I sounded like David Crush. Do you get what I mean there? They were us away from home when we go to places like Anfield. There is, and he's a legend. I think he looks better clean shaven than he did with a beard back then. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but then again, back then he was banging goals in for West Ham and winning golden boots. And
legendary. Yeah, they were us away from home. They made a hell of a lot of noise, and they outsung us at points, and they were louder than us at points. And it was nice because it kind of made us up our game a little bit, to be fair. But also props to them at the start of the game for honouring the minute's silence.
Yes.
Yes. Or what wasn't a minute's silence, but they honoured that. They clapped when the comments were made in obviously Romanian. It came out over the tannoy. Yep. We had the English and we had the Romanian. And when the pictures came up on the jumbo screens other end of the game, end of the pitch, they clapped as well. So I will take my hat off to them. I think even to be fair, Rob, even the ones that were in the wrong parts of the stadium, they were still quite respectful of that. There were still rounds of applause. There were still being polite. I don't blame them for celebrating even in the wrong parts of the stadium because, you know what, their team have scored. I'm not blaming them for being in the wrong parts of the stadium, Rob. I'm not blaming them because if we were given the chance, you in Lyon being a prime example, you would have done the same thing. So I can't blame them for being in the wrong part of the stadium. No. That's got to go on the club and on UEFA for allowing it. But I felt that as a whole, other than the few pockets of incidences that we could see below us as they were being hoiked out, because let's be honest, as fans, to a degree, we could have overlooked it. We could have done, as West Ham fans, the stadium's not full. Just we could have left it. They're celebrating. We're a bit pissed off. I think we were pissed off because the emotion of the day, obviously, with the news that we've received, the frustration that we've got because our players weren't performing exactly as they should have done. I had that game at 4-0.
You did.
And two of those goals didn't come until the last 8 minutes of the game. So let's clear that up. Going into the 82nd minute, it was 1-1, and it didn't look good for my prediction. 3-1 looks a lot better than it could have done. You know what I mean? I think our frustration boiled over, and a few of our fans that might have been partaking in an enjoyment beverage probably might have gone a bit too much over the top. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done and I'm not saying that they should have been in the home end. What I'm saying is it could have quite easily just been let go. It did, you know what I mean? Do you see what I mean? It was one of them. It's not like
maybe.
they were, as someone posted on Facebook earlier, it's not like they were taking tickets out of West Ham hands.
No, that's true.
You know what I mean?
You know. But then what's the point of an away end?
But then if they would have only given them away, and we might have only had about 8,000 West Ham fans in that stadium last night.
Possibly.
You know what I mean? Listen, I've had time to stop and think about it. I've had time to sit back and kind of evaluate it slightly. And I think a lot of it could have been avoided if they hadn't been sold the tickets. But I also think some of it could have been avoided if certain fans, especially down the front, hadn't have got a bit het up over emotion, beer, and frustration. You know what I
mean? Fair. Did you want to give any player ratings or anything like that, or do you not?
I could go. I'll tell you what. I could go with a squad rating of an 8. Okay. Because of the result that came out. I'm going to give an individual. I'm actually going to give an individual 9, high 9, low 10 to Wally. Wally Downs, Flynn Downs. I'm also going to give a high 8 to Mikel Antonio, because I felt that his bits and pieces on the pitch that he did, you know, dragging their centre back out of place, was just outstanding. I did get frustrated with Dick in second half. I felt that he needed to stand up and be accounted and be a voice for their players throwing themselves on the floor in the second half, being a bit prima donna-esque. You know, the referee was falling for it a lot and giving a lot of free kicks to the opposition when they're really not free kicks. I felt that Deck should have kind of stood up for the calls. I think I did shout out at one point, I don't care if you get banned again, Deck, call him corrupt. I don't care, do something. Because he seemed very quiet to me. He seemed like he didn't want to step to the referee and have a conversation. Where if you look down on the sideline, at one point, Kevin Nolan didn't even wait for Moyes. Kevin Nolan actually got up and stormed across the technical area to the fourth official, who was standing on the touchline, and absolutely berated him, remonstrated with him, and then at the very end went, No. I'm just saying. His hands went up, but you could see that he would lost his shit, and then he was like, No.
Yeah.
It was frustrating, but again, it was the dark arts of European football that we're not used to, which we should be by now. Just hastening away.
Yeah, absolutely. Did David Moyes surprise you with the mean sort of like we often, you and I talk about David Moyes with his substitutions being a little bit, shall we say, suboptimal. I think, does he get credit on this occasion?
Massively. I'm just going to quickly jump in to Twitter and find a certain fan of the channel. Okay. A certain we've met him. Okay. He actually says, where is it? He says something about loving. Oh, I've lost it. He says something about loving the substitutions from Moyes. That he got it bang on.
Yeah.
Those 3 at half time, he saw where the issues were, Robin. And again, Kent alluded to Ben Rama's very straight runs. Yeah. You know, it's quite fun. he bought those 3 players off that I felt in the first half were very ineffective. I'm not saying Lanzini was shit, but he was ineffective. Benrahma was shit and ineffective. Scamacca was shit and ineffective. But he took those 3 out, and the 3 that then came on in their place, for me, changed the game. Completely changed the outlook. They changed our... Antonio changed our outball, Rob. He gave us an opportunity to not just go down the middle. We've all spoke about the frustration of when Antonio pulls left, or he goes to cross the ball into the middle to himself and he's not there. Well, we appreciated that last night, Mute.
Sorry, because the phone went. So
I know, you're fine.
Yeah. I think this may be an opportune moment to bid a fond farewell to the people watching. Before we do that, just like to point you in direction. Again, guys, you can find this in the link in the pinned section of the comments. Obviously, this time of national mourning that we're going through, and the Queen was someone that liked to try and do her bit for people less fortunate. So we'd like to try and do something that maybe will live up to that particular ideal. If any of you would like to contribute to the Just Giving page of the Iron Supporting Food Bank charity, as I say, pinned section of the comments, give it a click. You can go on there. No donation is too small. This is to help families in the Newham Borough area who are struggling to feed their family. Real simple. So if you're in a position to help, it would be very much appreciated. And we thank you very much for your consideration in this matter. And we would like to thank you for joining us on this slightly different broadcast. And I wasn't sure if we were going to do it today or not, but I just kind of thought, well, yes, we will, but obviously we'll adopt a slightly different tone than normal. I hope that it's been enjoyable to you guys watching, and we will see you again down the track. Thanks for joining us, and have a great weekend.
Cheers, guys.